What's up, guys? It's Johnny Tacos here again with another exciting and informative episode of the Johnny Tacos Show. I hope everybody is doing great or fantastic, as some of the people like those adjectives. I am doing well. Just to let you know, we did survive the hailstorm of 2025. Just need a prayer for all the prayer warriors that are out there that love to fight that spiritual fight. We have three cars that are totaled out, um, and we have some damage to our roof. So just some prayers. That's all I need. I'm not going to throw a GoFundMe or any kind of thing like that. I believe that God protects his children, and in time, all this stuff will just be a dreary memory. So, what I want to do before we get to our guest, Mitch from Pipebomb, we have, you know what? I want to talk about church. And you know that I am a big supporter of biblical church. And what I mean by biblical church is when the pastor opens up that Bible and it looks like it's beaten. Ever had one of those Bibles for like that you use on a daily basis? The backbone's all tore up. The Bible looks a little bit like it's seen better days, but that just tells you how much pastor really deep dives into the word. And you want to go to a church where the the pastor is actually pushing and like digging out scripture, and not just the popular scriptures, but the scriptures that come before and after, so you can get the full range of what God is trying to talk to you about. And you're like you're telling me, but you crazy guy, you a lot of churches, they tend to go away from the Bible, and they tend to preach from their minds and from the way that they see around the world. And I have to disagree, good fellow patrons of the Bible. I go to a place Renovation Church at the Peak. Renovation Church at the Peak. Peak. I said beak. I'm thinking about birds. I'm going all what is that? Avriotic. I guess that's a new word. That's a new word. Don't open up your dictionaries and text me later saying I did it wrong. But Renovation Church at the Peak. Pastor Tim Hale. He actually breaks down the Bible to a way that people can understand and people can relate. It's really awesome to hear him talk. We're talking about marriage now and about the way how you should prioritize you should prioritize. Number one, of course, is God. You prioritize God. Number one. Number two is your wife or your husband, if you're a female listening to here, which I thank you. Three, your children. So that is the law of prioritizing. And we learned that last week. And it's pretty awesome to go. But if you want to hear more about it, you can go on the YouTube channels. They have it on live. If you're not in the DFW area and you want to check it out, it's really awesome. But if you are in the DFW area, here's the address: is 5010 FM 663 in beautiful Midlothian, Texas. And if you don't know where Midlothian, Texas is, if you see Dallas, just go south. You'll eventually bump into it. So yeah, tell Tim Hale that the Johnny Tacos had invited you over and get you a free hug, and also get you a free coffee too, because he wants you spiritually and physically awake when you're receiving the word. So, also, want to give a big shout out to Finding Hope Music Festival. Finding Hope Music Festival is a festival that kind of merges mental health with music under God's word. So if you love Christian metal, just like my guest today, then you'll love to get closer to the Finding Hope Music Festival because they they work hard to get awesome bands like Disciple, uh, what is it, Saving Jackie, um, Reborn, just so many. That's just to name a few, but so many bands that have come through under the Finding Hope Music Festival. What they believe that music can be a positive influence and improve mental health as well as boost self-esteem and confidence. You ever got to a tune where you're just driving down the road and you're like, yeah, this is a good song, and you feel positive and you feel like you can take on the world because you have God right there on next to you. And sometimes I wish Jesus would take the wheel of some of the people that drive down the highway. I'm just praying for them. I pray for them instead of saying a couple of words. But hey, when that music, that positive music, you're like, okay, God's got them, God's got me. We're going somewhere. Their mission is they're a nonprofit organization that exists to bring the hope and healing to a broken world through the power of music and the gospel. So, you want to check it out, go to findinghopemusicfestival.org and tell them Johnny Tacos sent you, and I guess they'll give you a hug too. I don't know. Everybody wants to give a hug nowadays, and it's a little uncomfortable for me for hugs, but hey, I'll do it for you. If you want a hug, I'll give you a hug. All right. Enough of that. We are here because y'all like bombs and preferably a pipe. Mitch here today to tell us more about his band, a little bit about his history. I think there's a testimony in there. I see a testimony between those eyes there. Um, I'm pretty excited about talking to him because when we talked on there, he was pretty excited about being on here too. So we have a mutual excitement here. Hey, Mitch, how are you doing today?
Hey man, how's it going?
Hey,
Good to
if it's any better, I would think I'd already been in paradise.
that's good. Good to hear.
What about you?
I'm all right. I'm a little sore. I just recorded some more vocals and it's been a while. It's been a real long time since I've recorded vocals for the last EP. Um and I'm super rusty. I definitely don't do it right. So my whole body is kind of hurting right now from it. But I'm hoping as I record more for this new album, I'll get more used to it. Um, I just don't typically practice like screaming vocals if I'm not recording. So whenever I do record, it's like oof, like shifting into that gear is always tricky. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
definitely.
other than that, doing pretty good.
So, so being a metal vocalist, it's not just the voice, it's the body, right? Use everything in there because if you're screaming, you kind of push forward, right?
I mean, I'm probably not the right person to give advice on that because I definitely don't do it right. Um, but yeah, I mean, I know there's some people that do it sustainably enough to where like they can scream for hours on end and it doesn't really bug them. If I'm recording, I have like 2 or 3 hours tops if I'm pretty consistent with it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I try not to, but I tend to kind of tense up my whole body if I'm screaming, and I know that's like not a good thing to do. Um, but yeah, I mean, the more you do it, the more into a rhythm you get, and it kind of hurts less as you kind of flex those muscles and really, it's like running. You can't just like wake up and run like 10 miles unless you've been like running consistently. So, um, yeah, that's definitely on my to-do list is to be a little more consistent with practicing those vocals.
So with that, do you drink teas or something to keep your throat from overheating?
I mean, I drink tea like pretty regularly. But if I'm recording, I just drink water. Um, yeah, or like sometimes Gatorade. I really like how Gatorade like I don't think it's necessarily healthy for you to drink if you're just kind of like sitting around, but like the consistency of Gatorade feels good on my throat. So, yeah, but typically just water if I'm in the studio.
And doing metalcore, um, it's pretty out there, man. When you actually think about it, the screaming, the riffs, everything's heavy in your face. We were talking earlier about how you got into doing this type of music. Um, have you ever done any other type of music with clean vox?
Yeah, I mean, I used to play guitar in an indie rock band or like an indie punk band, and I did like backing vocals there. And then um, I've written like kind of like acoustic stuff in the past, and I've done clean vocals there. I'm one of the worship leaders at my church, so I do clean singing there. Um, so yeah, that's definitely more. I don't have any like formal training with singing or anything. But yeah, with clean vocals, that's sort of where I gravitate towards is like indie music and then playing at church. Um, but if for like heavier projects, I typically don't mix clean singing in there. Um, I did for a band that I was in like during college. I was the vocalist and I did like screams and I also did some clean singing. It was kind of tricky for me to go back and forth, and I think I just prefer bands that don't have any clean singing. If I'm in that like heavy music zone, I kind of prefer bands that just keep it to screaming. Um, but yeah, I do clean singing occasionally, just not really with pipe bomb.
Yeah, because pipe bomb is in your face kind of music. It's like wake you up, get you ready. It's good workout music, I can tell you that.
Oh, thanks. I'm
Yeah.
glad. If I'm helping people hit PRs, I'm happy about that.
You get somebody like ripped and shredded in the word and in physical shape. You're like, wow, that is pretty awesome there, Arnold. So, who are some of the bands that you kind of followed in that kind of footsteps?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first started off getting into metalcore, and then eventually like Christian metal. I mean, I grew up like listening to Metallica and stuff. So that was sort of my first step into the metal zone. And um, I don't know. Briefly got into like kind of butt rock, butt metal sort of thing, like Disturbed and that kind of thing. Um, and then, but Metallica really stuck with me. I still really love Metallica. And then going from there, my cousin um, let me borrow Under Oath, Lost in the Sound of Separation, and Homesick from A Day to Remember. And those aren't really similar sounding records, but they were like kind of two steps into that world where like I really liked the catchiness of A Day to Remember, and they were definitely more like kind of straight ahead breakdown territory. And then Under Earth had these sort of kind of chaotic riffs, and they were still catchy. Like that's still a catchy album. I think it's just definitely more on the chaotic side for Under Earth. Um, and then that album specifically was more of a step toward like, okay, now I'm gonna go listen to Norma Jean and the Chariot and I don't know, Haste the Day, like that kind of stuff. Um, and then I think those bands were the ones that really stuck with me. Like Like that, specifically that Under Earth album is still my favorite. Um, and then Chariot and Norma Jean are like two of my favorites. Um, and then from there, I kind of got more into like Every Time I Die, the Dillinger Escape Plan, Converge, like that kind of thing. And that I think that more chaotic side of the metalcore really stuck with me. That was um, I don't know, just what I enjoyed the most. Even though I still have like, all that kind of like Warped Tour scene stuff is like I still like that music, like The Devil Wears Prada and even August Burns Red. I mean, they're not really like catchy, clean singing metalcore, but that side of metalcore I still enjoy. Um, but definitely bands like The Chariot and Norma Jean were more of an influence for me. And then from there, I think I broadened out a little bit more. And, I think like the Christian metalcore scene is really cool. It definitely has its limits. I feel like it's just not as big of a scene, obviously, as like metalcore or metal as a whole. Um, so I started getting into bands like Cult Leader and Nails and Gaza, like moving more towards like extreme metal. Um, and so I think all those things sort of put together ended up being influences for Pipe Bomb. Because I think a lot of that dropped off. There's definitely less chaotic metalcore in the scene now than there used to be. And to my knowledge, there aren't any bands that are kind of doing the like false grind, nails sort of sound. Um, and I think that's more maybe more like newer pipe bomb stuff verges on that kind of sound. The stuff I'm working on right now. So yeah, I think listening to all those bands and then kind of seeing where the scene is now and being like, oh, there's kind of gaps, like gaps that I would want to fill with Pipe Bomb. Um, but yeah, those I think those are probably like my main influences of like Metallica, the Chariot, Norma Jean up towards like Nails.
So with that, because a true artist will always evolve and change and kind of reinvent themselves in every album, and so it won't feel like it's stagnant. If you listen to a couple of bands, Gravity Kills was one of my favorite industrial bands back in the because I'm old, back in the '90s, and but if you listen to them, their beats and the way that they operate the lyrics was pretty much similar in every album. Um, but to be a true artist, you should always want to go and see how far you can push it. And do you feel that that's how you're doing with Pipe Bomb?
Um, I mean, I think so. I wouldn't say it's like a super conscious effort. I think it's more just I don't want to feel like I'm writing the same song a bunch of times. And so like especially for the Stomp EP, like I basically had a bunch of demos and then those six just stood out to me and I was like, okay, well these are the ones I'm doing. Like I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going to do it. And then it was a similar thing with this new album is like I had probably 20 to 30 demos of just, starts of songs, little riffs and stuff like that. And then these 10 kind of filled out and became full songs. And I was like, all right, well, those are the ones that I'm gravitating towards. So I'm gonna roll with it. Um, but yeah, some of them are kind of like Hate Club is kind of mathy. There's a few on the new album that kind of have that more mathy, chaotic thing. And then some of them are lean more towards like not grindcore, but definitely like that fast kind of extreme metal sound, um, which is like it doesn't sound like it's not pipe bomb. Like it sounds like it sounds natural. It doesn't feel like a push towards one certain style, but um, it's definitely different than the stuff that I've written before. So yeah, I don't think it was a conscious effort of like, oh, I want this to sound more like something else.
Hmm.
But I think subconsciously while I was writing is like, oh, well, I'm going to try something like this. Oh, I'm going to try something like this, and just kind of see what sticks. Um, because even now after putting out an EP, I think most people's favorite song is still False God, which is the first one I put out. Um, and that's cool. I like that song. I'm just I don't want to be like, oh, that's what people like, so now I'm going to write False God Part Two, you know. Um, and in general, I mean, there's still some sort of breakdowny stuff, but in general, I tend to lean away from just pure breakdown parts. It's just not really, unless there's something really gripping about it that, like, I don't know. I'm a riff guy. I like writing riffs. Guitar is my main thing. And if I can sort of turn a breakdown into something that feels like a hook or something that feels like more of a riff than just chugs, um, then I really like doing that. So there's a few parts on the new album with breakdowns, but in general, I'm kind of leaning away from that kind of sound. Um, and again, I maybe that's more of a conscious decision of like, okay, what am I trying to, what fits with the song, and how can I not make it sound like stuff that I've done before? But um, yeah, so I guess I'm trying to make it not sound stale. I'm trying to make it not just sound like here's what I did before the sequel. Um, but in a lot of ways, it just kind of, I try not to overthink it. I try to just, whatever comes out, if I like that, I'm like, okay, I'm working with this. Instead of really trying to be like, this album's going to sound, you know, we're moving away from metalcore, getting more into hardcore, moving away from hardcore, getting more into grindcore. Like, um, I try to just let it flow as much as I can. So yeah, hopefully that answers it. But
Well, just let pipe bomb be pipe bomb, an explosion of
yeah,
different types of genres, if you want to put it like that. But still, they're still tightly knit. It's not like you're going from metalcore to country,
yeah,
maybe metal country
yeah,
or rap. You're not getting away from the bases of metal, which is
yeah.
pretty cool. Which is pretty cool if you're able to evolve in that space that all the musicians before have given you.
Mhm.
And then that should be a recipe for success.
Yeah, and I mean, like metalcore, hardcore, post-hardcore, all that kind of stuff is like it's all close enough, you know. I'm not gonna like write a part and be like, oh man, this feels too hardcore. Like if I like it, I'm just gonna put it in there. And I'm not really worried of like, oh, the kids that like breakdowns, they're not gonna like this part. It's like, well, I don't know. If they don't like break, or if they're super into breakdowns, like pipe bomb probably isn't their thing anyway. So, um, yeah, I try not to overthink it and just kind of let it happen.
Yeah, and some bands take that breakdown way too long. They keep it going way too long, and it shouldn't be half of the song, you know.
Yeah,
Uh it should prove a purpose, you
yeah,
know. If you got two different tones going through there, you have to have that breakdown to kind of blend it together, which should only take maybe what is it, 6 seconds, maybe 6 to 8 seconds, and you should be good.
yeah. I mean, I think
Not
like
two
when I was in
minutes.
high school and college and stuff, like that was, you know, to that like early 2010s, 2007 to like 2011 ish. Um, and like August Burns Red put out Messengers in 2007. In my mind, they already perfected the like breakdown metalcore thing. Like that's like the perfect breakdown metalcore album. So in my mind, I was like, well, I'm not going to try to do that. They already did that and they like perfected it. Um, and then you have bands like A Day to Remember that kind of perfected the like catchy metalcore thing. Um, yeah, so my perspective with breakdowns has always been like there are other bands that would do this so much better than I would. So I'm only going to put a breakdown in there if it feels like something I would do. Um, because again, like August Burns Red is sort of like the pinnacle of that kind of like tight metalcore sound. Um, and then you even get bands like I wouldn't necessarily say Under Earth has like breakdowns, but they kind of have breakdown-ish sections. Um, and I think that's maybe more what I gravitate towards is are those kind of like breaks. Um, but yeah, I definitely like I always veer away from the August Burns Red sound because in my mind I'm like, well, they already did the perfect version of that, so I'm not even going to mess with it.
So, hearing your music, got to say, awesome, awesome music that you have.
Thanks.
Uh, it could it could sway to secular if you think about it, but you as a worship leader, which I give you kudos for that, being a worship leader can be harder sometimes than just being a regular pastor. Um, there has to be a testimony to how you got to hear as being a worship leader, as loving Christian metal instead of going fully into the dark side, as some people say. Because I know they got good cookies, because I've seen it on the bumper sticker when I'm driving. The dark side has good cookies. So,
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that my testimony is necessarily like um, a big, long, winding story. I think to make it really straightforward, I was raised in a Christian home, and I think my parents did a really good job of instilling those values in a way that wasn't wasn't super legalistic, but it also wasn't too free flowy. Like it felt genuine, and so I think even from a young age, like being involved with the church and the gospel and Christianity as a whole just made a lot of sense to me. Um, and during, I feel like everyone kind of has this transition period of like, this can't just be like what my parents believe. Like, you have to kind of like believe it for yourself. And that going through like high school and college was sort of that transition period for me of, okay, is this just a bunch of rules? What does this actually mean for me? And yeah, I had a lot of friends who kind of grew up in youth group and then kind of walked away from it at that point. And so that was kind of a tension point of like, oh, this isn't just like the thing we do anymore. Like I kind of have to figure out what this is genuinely. Um, because I get, I think in general, like I felt the need to either commit or get out. Um, and when you start looking at what other people, you're like, oh, I thought like I thought we believed the same thing, and now we don't. There's all these kind of like moving pieces of people growing up and rebelling, and then figuring things out for themselves. Um, and I think Christian metal was kind of a integral part of that. Like I joined a Christian metal band and kind of was convicted of like, oh, if we're gonna actually like stand for this publicly, I feel like there's a lot of things in my life that I need to address. Um, and I should definitely be looking into this more, and I should definitely be, um, I guess, taking it more seriously. I think at the time I was being a little too casual with my faith. I think God convicted me of that um, and led me to good friends and people that would keep me accountable. And I think um, led me to good pastors who had solid teaching and made me more aware of my need for a savior and the sin in my life. So um, yeah, and ironically, I think a lot of the bands that kind of got me thinking more about that, and people that got me thinking more about that have had more of a complicated relationship with God in recent years. But um, yeah, it is interesting to see how like taking that step into adulthood kind of forces you to think more about your own beliefs and mortality and morality, and there's a lot of things to consider there. um and I'm one of the worship leaders for my church. That's not like a staff position. I'm not like the worship leader guy. I'm just one of the volunteers that leads worship at our church. um and I think that was kind of a cool transition as well, because it forced me to have a different relationship with music. I think music has always been like a personal thing for me, of like, oh, okay, what do I like? What speaks to me? And in this, it's very different. Like, we're not always singing songs that I like or personally enjoy, and it's way more of a service to the church, and thinking more about, like, okay, how are we called to glorify God in the Bible? Like, how has he directed us to do that? And then how can we help the church do that? Not just like, oh, here's a song I like, I hope everyone else likes it. It's more, everything is way more focused on like, how do we glorify God? Um, which is how it should be. I think that was, musically speaking, that was a mental shift for me, instead of just like, because I played guitar on worship bands like for most of my life. Um, So it's definitely a different vibe to just be like, oh, here's the song riff or the chords, and then to spend more mental energy thinking about like, what is the best way to arrange this song so that people understand the gravity of the lyrics and can sing loudly and can worship in the way that they're singing. Um, and yeah, I mean, that's still a different approach than to what pipe bomb is even, but um, yeah, I think if I it's just been a lot of shifts, since being in high school and college, that have kind of led me to this point. Um, and yeah, so I don't know if that answers the question or not. I kind of got rambling there, but
Well,
I think that's kind of what led me to this point.
when we're young, we tend to try to voyage out on our own. So having that, it kind of makes you that much closer to God when you realize, hey, I can't do this by myself. And then Jesus goes, hey, I was already here with you the whole time. I just sometimes you have to stumble, you have to fall to learn how to walk correctly. Uh, I know he was with me in a couple of stuff that I went through, but my pride and very, the sin of pride of being having pride wouldn't let me hear what he was telling me. And now hindsight's 2020. I was like, oh man, I should have listened to him. But you shouldn't just say, yeah, I'm just one of the worship leaders. I just volunteer because you are the you're the welcoming committee to the people that come there that have never been to church or have said, well, I'm gonna give church one more time, one more try. You're the ones that start off the party. You're the party starters, being in pipe bomb or being at your church, playing guitar or leading praise music or worship music. You are the ambassadors. There we go. The ambassadors of God. And you just the hype men, back in the day with the where the rappers had the hype men.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, you got it. What's up? See, I ramble too. So don't feel bad about it, Mitch. I ramble too because my wife says I love to hear my own voice. Which if she knew the truth, I hate doing editing. That's why I give it to my producer. Well, you do it. I hate listening to my voice. But but yeah, man, it's awesome that you're out there hyping people up for the Lord on Sunday.
Thanks,
Uh,
man.
all the way in Philly, which I need to go to Philly. I need the actual cheesesteak because we have a guy from Philly down here in Waxahachie makes the best cheesesteaks, but he's downtown and it's expensive. But I want to when I go to Philadelphia, I want one of those cheesesteaks. Those you got to take me to one of your places.
Will do. I mean, there's plenty of good ones. You don't have to go to just like Pat's or Gino's. You can go pretty much anywhere and get something pretty decent. Um, you got to get some water ice too. Um, people people call it Italian ice, or I don't know. I don't know what else they call it, but
Water
um,
ice, and
water ice is
that's two different um, stages of water and ice.
is great, man. It's I mean, I don't know. I used to live in LA, and I remember taking my friends. They had a Rita's Italian ice out there, and I was like, I took some friends. I was like, oh, you guys got to try water ice. Um, and I mean, I think they make like grocery store Italian ice things, just like a frozen fruit liquid thing. Um, I think Luigi's Italian Ice is one of the like grocery brands. But anyway, I took my LA friends to go get it, and they were like, "It's good. It's okay." And I think it's just a different thing for Philly. Like we're super into it. Um, so yeah, it's definitely a good thing to try when you're out here.
Well, it's like Texas and barbecue. Yeah, they go, oh, you don't want to go up to those Yankees with their over vinegar barbecue. You
Yeah.
know, it's a big fight. Sorry, my number one fan wanted in. I have a little corgi that if I don't let her in, she'll be a big part of the star of the show. So, but yeah, man. So you're a part of the Carry On Collective.
Yep.
When did you join up with them?
Um, I can't remember exactly when. I know Eric reached out to me, I think after the first couple singles I dropped, and was like, "Hey, like, let me know if you're working on anything." Or it might have been like after I announced that I was going to do an EP. Um, and yeah, it's been cool. I mean, it's very casual. Like I feel like they're very chill with whatever I want to do, and I just kind of send it their way, and they promote it on their end, I promote it on my end, and it's pretty easy relationship. There's not a lot of strings attached. Um, so yeah, and I think um, I can't remember like a specific moment of like when that happened, but it was definitely before the Stomp EP came out, because he helped promote that and got and made CDs for it. So
Yeah, and he's a good guy. I met a bunch of his artists throughout the years of having this show, and the best thing about it is they're all driven to spread the gospel. The artists that I met, and Eric's a pretty chill guy. I haven't met him face to face personally, but hopefully we'll eventually do that here in the future. But just want to give a shout out to the guys at the Carry On Collective or Cherry On Collect. See, I
I
had
don't even know. I have
I
no
had
idea what
yeah,
it's called.
and you're part of the collective. To me, maybe we can get Eric to set the real name on it on the show here pretty soon. But you said Stomp. Uh, we're actually going to play that video that they made or Eric made for it here on the show. And we're getting close to the end of the show. And what I like to do is, eh, you know, go out there and say, hey, do you have anything you would like to promote? Do you have a merch line? I know you have a merch line because my friend Jonathan from Prayer wore your pipe bomb hat
Mm.
in one of the episodes that we have. If you haven't had a chance to check out Jonathan from Prayer and that interview, go on. I'll put a placemat here at the end of the show on YouTube. But if you don't, just if you don't watch on the YouTube, just go 3 episodes before this, and it's pretty awesome. The hat looks really killer. You know, to me, it's like a trucker style kind of hat.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like a Marlboro Rip trucker hat. But yeah, those I still have some of those left. And then I still have some False God tees, and I did like a Black Flag Rip design. Um, I still have a. I'm not sure what sizes I have left of those, but pretty much all the merch I have is on Bandcamp. Um, and you can see the sizes on there, and the False God tees. All the T-shirts are on sale. Um, I think 20 and
I need to
$15.
get me a
So
hat though. I told John, I said, hey, I need to talk to him. I need to get me a hat. I need to see if I'm glad you still have some available because
yeah,
I'll be sporting it.
they're I mean they're comfy too. I kept one for myself, so it's I like wearing it out. Um, wouldn't wear it to the airport. That's my one suggestion. So uh, they would not be too fond of someone wearing anything that said pipe bomb on it.
Or Ireland. You don't want to wear that in Ireland either.
Yeah.
So, but hey, Mitch, I appreciate you being on the show. If you want to listen to more of music from Pipe Bomb, or you would like to, learn more about Mitch and his whole collection of thoughts and all that good stuff, you can go on to all the social media under Pipe Bomb. You can go to, he has a link tree and it's a bunch of numbers, but if you go on Linktree, you can look for Pipe Bomb, and for there it shows where you can get the Smoking Kills hat, which I think that's really cool. The Stream Hate Club, False God tees, and you can also help them out buying CDs because um, helping helping our artists with merchandise is it's what helped them keep the bills paid as well as keeping new music coming because going out and producing tracks is not cheap. Going to a studio is not cheap. I have my own studio, um, you know, which I am blessed with, but other people do not cannot afford it or be able to, so you have to pay $200 $300 an hour to lay some tracks at a standard good studio. Boy, I am not speaking words good today. Me no speak words well. It's probably because I am tired. I woke up too early. But I want to thank you, Mitch, for being on the show. I can't wait to hear more music. You can also go on to the Johnny Taco Spotlight and check out 2 songs. I have not placed them in yet, but by the time this is done recording, you'll have 2 songs to jam to on your workout, your walk, going to work, driving, vacation, anything you do, and you want to listen to some good music, go on the Johnny Taco Show Spotlight on Apple and Spotify. All right, so we're going to jam out of here with Stomp, and this is your newest. Is this your newest single?
No, Stomp was the first track on the EP that I dropped last year.
Okay, and
Yep.
what's your newest single?
Hate Club's the newest single.
Hate Club is your newest single.
Hmm.
Okay, so after you get done listening to Stomp, go listen to Hate Club because
Yep.
it's a club full of haters, like like the people that write me bad stuff on this. It's their club, the club of haters. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, just stay tuned after the video for another hard word from Chris Johnson of Hard Look as he takes us out with a Bible study. So here you are, and play that beautiful bean footage.
Suffocate me! Suffocate me! The less of me, the better start me out! A parasite loved by yourself says nothing to fear. Innocent and stuck in my gut has nowhere to go. I'm again hiding underneath human skin. It's bitter than that's a remedy in my soul. To stop me out. Stop now. Stop now. Stop now. Suffocate me! Suffocate me!
What's up, guys? Christopher Johnson here, host of the Hard Word podcast, coming at you with a hard word today about trials by faith. So, in life, there's many trials and tribulations that we have to go through. Some seem impossible, some seem like they could potentially lead to death. And we see these extreme examples of trials and extreme tribulation in the Bible, of course, and it's a great place to look to. And it's a great place to look to because it instructs us, it guides us, it gives us examples, so we don't have to make the same mistakes that others have made. And so we can model ourselves after other faithful men who have been blessed and protected and things like this. So one example I wanted to touch on actually comes from the Old Testament, and then I'm going to link that to the New Testament. And then also I'm going to link that to us in our lives today. So this example comes from the book of Daniel, Daniel chapter 6. You have the story of Daniel in the lion's den. Some of you might be familiar with the story, some might not. And if you haven't heard the story or read the story, I encourage you to read it. But in Daniel chapter 6, you have King Darius. He's the new king in town, and he makes this decree that no man can pray to any god except for to him. Darius is not a god, but he's acting as an intermediary between man and the gods. So we're not dealing with a righteous king here. This is an unrighteous king. And Daniel decides he's not going to follow this new law. But first and foremost, the majority of the people do follow it. So the people there, they're either not praying or they're praying to Darius because they don't want to go to prison. They don't want to get killed or anything like that, right? So Daniel decides to remain faithful to God. He remembers the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not have any other God. So he's like, no, I'm not going to pray to Darius. I'm not going to pray to some intermediary, to the gods, because he doesn't believe that. He believes in the one true God. So being faithful to God, he decides he's going to still pray 3 times a day and only to God. And so what happens is the authorities catch wind of it. And of course, King Darius himself catches wind of it. And Daniel's basically put on trial. So what happens is there's a trial, and he's deemed guilty for going against this new decree. And the punishment is to be locked in a tomb, have a big stone cover the tomb, and inside that tomb are lions who then devour whoever's locked inside. So there's been other transgressors before Daniel. They would lock those people in, stone covers the hole, and the lions devour. And so King Darius knows that this is an effective way to kill people and to enforce his new rule. So like Daniel is no exception here, and like the others, Daniel gets placed in this tomb. You've got the stone covering the tomb. But what happens here, because of Daniel's faithfulness to God, is God actually makes this miracle happen, and he binds the mouths of the lions so the lions do not devour him. And he remains unscathed. And that tomb, that stone, the stone covering the tomb rather, gets rolled away. And Daniel is safe and sound, unscathed. And the king goes, wow, this is incredible. There must be some true power behind the God that Daniel serves. So he actually ends up changing the law and goes back on that whole decree about the only God that man can pray to is Darius. So he actually goes back on that, changing the law, which is great. And it's something that we can use to inspire us today. But before we get to how it affects us, the link to us today, let's go to the link in the New Testament. So this story in Daniel chapter 6 is from the Old Testament, but in the New Testament, obviously, you have the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which all point to the story of Jesus, right? So Jesus was put on trial. The Pharisees and the rulers, they thought that Jesus was guilty of saying he was the Messiah, but not really being the Messiah. So they thought he was guilty, but he was being faithful to God the Father, and obviously he was the Messiah, is the Messiah today. So they put him in a tomb. They covered that tomb with a big stone, and when that stone was moved, there was no dead Jesus. There was no dead body. There was no carcass. So it's the same kind of thing, and it's because Jesus is blameless. It's because Jesus is faithful. Same reason that when the tomb was uncovered for Daniel, that he was unscathed, that he wasn't devoured. There was no carcass of Daniel there, is because of the faithfulness. So you have the same type of story in the Old Testament and the New Testament, and they're the same thing. I mean, they really do go together, and that's what you'll find with a lot of the Old Testament passages is they point to Jesus. So even though Jesus himself had not manifested in the flesh at that time, everything still points to Jesus, and that's a key takeaway. But how it all relates to us in our lives is sometimes, we go through trials and tribulations in our lives, and we think, well, that's impossible. There's no way. But if you remain faithful, you might find that God makes a way. And in very specific example too is, when you look at new rules that are being passed in America and wherever you live, if you live not in America, you might see some laws being passed where you're like, well, that doesn't seem Christian. That actually seems to go against what Scripture says. And I don't even need to list specific examples because you could probably think of some off the top of your head. And even if you can't, if that were to happen, the same thing is true. You have a duty to obey God over man. So if man tells you to do something that the Bible says, hey, don't do that, what you do is do what the Bible says, right? So you remain faithful to God. God remains faithful to you. So if you think that, oh, wow, I don't want to go to prison or I don't want to get killed, so let me just go along with what the law says, what man says, just to save my own skin, that's not the right way to go. You'll find that if you remain faithful to God, he remains faithful to you, and you'll be protected, and you'll have the outcome that God has for you in your life, and you won't have the bad outcome that man wants for you. So I hope that inspires you. And it's not even the only story like that. There are so many. And I mean, even with the book of Daniel itself, it's not just Daniel 6. He goes through a lot of trials and tribulations, and each time he remains faithful to God, and God remains faithful to him. And there's so many miracles, and I highly recommend reading Daniel and the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, all of it. It's all great. It's all inspiring to us all. But I hope that this specific example was inspiring to you. And just go out into the world, be faithful, don't fear man, only fear God, and you'll find that blessing comes your way. So God bless you guys. Catch you on the next Hard Word.
Hey guys, I want to thank you for watching the show. Give a big shout out to Pipebomb for being on there and jamming out to their music. Awesome word from Chris on that hard word. And you know what? Just keeps going. Loving all the new members, all the new followers that are coming on since we've been doing this video. And can't wait to see what more comes up. And God is doing this. God is great. Just keep going. Keep walking. As me and Stacy, we are walking and we are going. We are enjoying life. And remember, you're not alone in this fight. God's got your back. And you know what? We got each other's as well. So God bless you. God keep you. Don't have a good day. Have yourself a beautiful day. I'm out. If you like this episode and you want to hear more, please like and subscribe to get the latest and the greatest from the Johnny Taco Show.